New Hampshire GOP primary polling numbers show former President Donald Trump holds a comfortable lead. But the new CNN poll conducted by the University of New Hampshire now shows his former Secretary of State, Nikki Haley, moving into second place. 42% of New Hampshire likely voters say they would give the former businessman another go at the presidency, while 20% say they would back Haley, a jump of 8 points since a September poll. 14% surveyed prefer former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, while other candidates stand in the single digits.